Hello, friends. Welcome to Love Wrestling Reacts. Welcome to our first ever Love Wrestling Reacts for Major League Wrestling. When you've got a great product going on, you've got to take the time out of your day to not only watch, but of course, share your opinion with the internet. That's the popular thing nowadays, right? Gentlemen, it is good to see you here again on Love Wrestling, and friends in the chat, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Facebook, or whether you are joining us on Twitch. It is good to see you guys as well. Give us your thoughts. We are here to chat all things tonight's Major League Wrestling Fusion episode, but we're here to chat pro wrestling. We've got about an hour of time that we are here to, again, just needlessly give our thoughts, and hopefully in an entertaining fashion. I just got good guys with me tonight. There's no other way to put it. I don't need any hyperbole for it. Two great individuals joining me on the recap tonight, Canadian Goose and, of course, John from Wrestling Plug Inc. Gentlemen, good to see you. John, I see you honking like I was earlier. Yeah. So, Goose, we're going to turn to you first. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
I'm good. I'm really good. I'm actually fantastic, considering it was, like, by my money, a really great episode of Fusion tonight.
This was my first episode. I don't think I've ever watched MLW before.
Nice.
The last time I think I watched MLW, there was a tournament, and I believe one of the participants was Mike Awesome.
Oh, cool. See, and admittedly, I haven't dove that far back. Let's get your grammar correct, Spence. Haven't dove that far back in it. I've been watching for about the last couple of years. The first episode that I watched in full, Mance Warner wrestled Jimmy Havoc in a no ropes barbed wire match. When that's advertised as a main event, you're going to tune in pretty consistently. So
was that going since then. Was that the stage?
Yeah. It was an absolutely fantastic episode. Of course, Priscilla Kelly, now known as Gigi Dolan, is a part of that as well. And that's another reason that I love MLW, is they've just got such a great mix of both. It's so cliche to say, but like current stars, when you look at individuals now, when you look at Jacob Fatu and Tom Lawler, individuals like that, big names, not just for MLW, but in the international wrestling scene. And then individuals who I had never heard of before MLW, like Boku Dao, doing a great job, not only tonight, but over the last little bit. And Myron Reed, another individual that I only started to learn about when I started watching Major League Wrestling. So before I start pontificating, John, how are you?
I'm doing well. Like you said, it's a great episode of MLW Fusion tonight. I caught up a little bit. I watch it sporadically, so I'm semi-familiar with the product. You touched on a lot of good stuff tonight. I'm feeling good. Let's get after this, man. That's all I can say.
Get after it. Well, and I guess I'll start with you because you're the one who's excited to get after it. What are some particular highlights that might have stood out for you? For me, there were a lot of great matches on the card tonight, despite it being, and not in a bad way, but definitely a promo-heavy show. What stood out to you?
Honestly, like one of the biggest things that stood out to me tonight, and I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, was Myron Reed, man. Like, I'm the type of guy that I always err on a performer's heel side to their face side, but I really think Myron Reed is like hit next level with his face promos. Like that promo tonight was like, you could see the passion in it. I'm excited to catch this match next week. I hope you have me back to talk about it, because like
don't blow the spot then.
I got the mug. No,
forgiven.
Cheers.
Shameless plug.
We'll take a photo later. We're not gonna bore people with that.
Well, MLW for me, honestly, it's one of my favorite presentations of a wrestling promotion. I like the way it looks. I like the feel. The intro song gets me hyped up, and I just love the sports feel, how they kind of intertwine it. It actually kind of bugs me out. It's only an hour, but I think that in a weird way does help it. But I could sit there for 2 hours, maybe 3, even though I know another 3-hour program can drag. But the way they present it works really well for me.
I completely agree. And Goose, I'll move on to you in a second, but one of the first notes that I wrote tonight, and I feel like if we were to do one of these every week, again, knowing that this is the first time we've done it for Fusion, I think that every week I would have a positive comment about Saint Laurent. Like, fight analyst might sound a bit cheesy when you think, I guess, not to shit on a product, but like when you think of WWE and the sports entertainment, and like Hulk Hogan in the most positive of ways wasn't a fighter, and he still isn't. But he wasn't a fighter then. Whereas with MLW's product, like you were saying, John, they've got that real fight feel, that fight analyst moniker that he's got. It's not a misnomer by any means. He is definitely an individual who, like, you even hear him breaking down stats in the main event of Tom Lawler wins 68% of his matches by submission. Like, stuff like that's cool. Do I know if it's a real fact? By no means, no. But roll with it. That's the sort of stuff I've got all the time in the world to, I guess, sort of play with the numbers in pro wrestling that they tend to do. I really like the way that he breaks down a match. He was definitely a highlight for me, but lots to talk about. Let's move on to the Goose, though, because I feel like I've already rambled about a couple of things. Goose, a highlight for you tonight.
I think that my highlight was another promo. It was the Contra promo. I thought that was pretty good stuff. I'll be honest, I have no idea who the guy was that was talking. I assume his name is not Contra.
No, so that is Joseph Samael, and he's wrestled for nearly 3 decades now. He was an NWA World's Champion back as the Sheik. Yeah, he is, and again, he's another individual that, you know, I'm by no means a wrestling historian, both to my benefit and my detriment, for the most part, to the latter. But I got the opportunity to speak to him about a year ago, and just absolutely fascinating. He learned from guys like Kevin Sullivan. Like he's learned from some of the brightest names in the business, and obviously, like, I think both of you guys can just tell from the way he cuts that promo, right?
Yeah,
Goose, after this, find a clip of him shooting a fireball as well, too, because by my money, he's got the best fireball in the business. He's nuts. So good. And a great mind for the business. Like I said, he's your proverbial all boxes checked sort of individual.
I really liked how it was very reminiscent of the Iron Man 3, you know, the bad guy in that one.
About the only positive part, positive part of Iron Man 3.
No,
at least until you finally.
Iron Man 3 was dope.
There's a hot take. If we're going to talk about any hot takes on the show, Iron Man 3 being good is certainly a hot take. However, Goose, there was your highlight. You are a highlight for Shane in the comments. Honk, honk. That's 3 tonight. You know, if we're ever doing these on Friday nights for SmackDown or anything otherwise, if we choose to do a Friday blowing off stream, we got to make like a honk, honk, honk beverage game, I suppose, because not everybody drinks. But I feel like the people who do would have a good time, for lack of a better way to put it. Drink every time someone honks. Either way, though, I completely agree with you, Goose. That it was absolutely fantastic, and that is just, it's par for the course as far as Joseph Samael goes. Contra as a whole is absolutely fantastic, and I've absolutely loved. So like he mentioned in the promo, about a year ago today, during the pandemic, they took the opportunity to take over in storyline the MLW headquarters. And it's just another piece for me that just showcases why they're such a great promotion, is that when a lot of promotions, and rightfully so, weren't doing anything, looking out for safety of their workers and not doing any in-person stuff, this was an example of stuff that wasn't done in person. But like Samael was cutting promos every week, and Hammerstone was doing his thing. That's where the feud sort of not developed, but sort of went to the next level. they've just been doing a lot of great stuff for the last little bit. And I think that Joseph Samael is a huge, huge, huge part of that. You're bang on, man. His promo tonight was fire, as I believe the children are saying. It was fire. I think
Contra's a great name for a group too.
Right? And Jacob Fatu, who you only saw the brief clip thereof at the end, he's incredible. Like, he is an incredible professional wrestler.
Solid.
There's really no other way to put it. Well, in another individual, the match I'll recommend, excuse me, as my favorite match of his was against LA Park a little under 2 years ago, because that was another one sort of near the start of me watching consistently. But he wrestled LA Park. Samael was in, obviously, Fatu's corner. And then Selena De La Renta, who was a huge part of tonight's episode, was in LA Park's corner. There were a lot of great interactions there, again, to put myself over. We talked a lot about that match specifically when I chatted with Samael. But I wanted to go from that point to Selena De La Renta, because all of the stuff going on with Azteca Underground. And Shaw, I know, again, you're not all that caught up with it. But for me, and John, you can probably speak to it as well, it's another great example of sort of blurring those lines of the supernatural and the realistic. Like, again, not to just put the blanket statement over it, but you get that real Lucha Underground feel to it, hey?
Yeah, they do a great job. The whole Contra thing hasn't been I don't watch consistently every single week. I kind of binge watch Fusion when I have time.
Not a bad problem to have.
And it's one of those things that it's very consistent. And Samael, man, like you said, that was a killer promo. Honestly, I can't wait for fans to get back into the arena, because when he cuts a promo, Goose, if you haven't seen, check some of his stuff out when there's people in the arena. They hate that guy. And it's awesome to see, because he's so believable and he's so well. And like you said, they don't do it in a over-the-top cheesy supernatural way. It's kind of implied, and it works really well in the reality side of things, which is great to see. So I mean, you can't go wrong with any of that stuff.
So the Contra guy is the leader of the Aztecas?
No, and that's still something that's yet to be determined, which I'm really interested in. That he was only referenced. Well, he should be. He absolutely should be. Contra is one side of things, and then Azteca Underground is this promotion faction nobody really knows that is purchased what used to be Selena De La Renta's former promotion. So Selena De La Renta is working for or under someone named El Jefe, which just sounds badass. Like, to be quite honest with you, Spanish is probably the coolest language for me. So anything you put El in front of, it's like, and it's like even when in Ricky Bobby, he says, "My name is now El Diablo." Like, that sounds so badass. You put El Spencer. El Spencer makes me sound a little cooler. Like, granted, anything would make me sound a little cooler. I'm not a very cool individual, but that's neither here nor there. Let's get back to pro wrestling, because me talking about myself just ends in me not being cool.
El Pluggo.
El Goose. See, it works great. El Goose.
El Goose.
Honko.
El Honko.
It just sounds cooler. Dave, like, it works. It works. But yeah, so they're run by some mysterious figure. I don't have a better way to put it. Okay. Named El Jefe. That's Selena De La Renta. That's why you saw her getting into that car with the bag over her head. Last week they said
Daniels.
I can't tell you how many shows in a row, Goose, we have now done where Christopher Daniels, being the person behind the corporate, what were they now? The corporate ministry?
Yeah.
There we go. This is like the fourth or fifth. Anybody tuning in for an MLW review right now is like literally tuning in and saying, the corporate ministry.
Well, I mean, it's Azteca Underground. It could be Shane McMahon, but I think that would be worse than Christopher Daniels.
I think there would be a lot of things worse than Christopher Daniels. That guy's a stud.
He's fantastic.
Absolute stud. But to sort of play off the stuff we were talking about on the Contra end of things, it's very cool for me, and this episode was especially prevalent with it, that Contra has always played like the underlying main storyline for things, like whether it's Hammerstone referencing that Fatu is immediately what he wants to go after, and that's where all roads are pointed. He said that for the better part of a year. They've always got that in their back pocket, but I love the fact that they've played different stories into sort of that main storyline role. Like all tonight was Team Filthy versus the Von Erichs, and I absolutely have loved that feud. It was about 2 years ago, a little longer than that. Filthy Tom Lawler cost Marshall Von Erich, Ross Von Erich, a heavyweight championship opportunity. That's where he sort of turned his back on the Von Erichs. He was the one who brought them into MLW. And 2 years later, like, it's very cool that they've been able to play again this storyline across 2 years and finally have it. I don't think culminate. Tom Lawler winning isn't the way that this feud ends. In pro wrestling, no, babyface always has to win at the end goal of things and then lose it the next night. Heels being champions are always better. But I've loved the fact that, again, so they've sort of woven Contra into the underlying storyline, and the Von Erich Team Filthy storyline has sort of taken precedence over the last little bit. It, again, I think just speaks to not just how great Court Bauer is, though full credit to him, but the great job that all of these wrestlers and all of the people behind MLW have been able to do to make this continue over the last little bit. Like, let's just stress the point, we're in a global pandemic and they're still putting shows like this on, right?
Yeah.
We said earlier that it was a promo heavy show, but by no means was that a complaint, and by no means still is that a complaint.
I actually I found it much easier to digest than when I was watching Impact a little while ago, because the obvious like crowd noise being piped in was just like, it wasn't as obvious. So it's like, okay, I'm with this. Like, I don't feel like I'm trying to be bamboozled here into, thinking there's 1,000 people behind.
Bamboozled is a word that doesn't get used enough. Well done, Goose.
You know what I'm saying, though? Like, it's like, okay, they're doing the show in an empty arena, and that's what's happening. Like, they're not trying to pull the wool over your eyes or anything and make you believe there's a bunch of people that are cheering these guys on. Because, like, I mean, it sounded like there was some ambience added there, but there wasn't, like, a huge pop every time somebody hit a move or anything. So.
Completely agree. Before I move on to my next point, I'm going to let John get the shout and also get a shout out from Justin. What's up, Brother John? Brother John, tell him what's up.
What's happening, Father C? Welcome to the show, my guy.
John, I'll give you the opportunity then. Immediately after the Myron Reed Leo Rush promo, we got the Boku Dao versus Hio de LA Park match. We haven't touched on that whatsoever yet tonight, and it was a great match for a lot of atypical reasons, I suppose. It was a slow match. It was a methodical match. It was very much a taunting match, I suppose, but it was still a great match for those reasons. So I'll let you take the floor because we've got your fans in the comments. Give us your thoughts.
I have fans. Oh, well, hello. Put me on the spot. No, that match was solid. Boku Da, I hope I said that right. I just familiarized myself with him today. I watched this match earlier today with TJP, and then you had LA. What's it? LA Park. He's
Hio de LA Park.
Hio de LA Park. I get them confused. I think the commentator did as well at one point.
It's just because there are a few. Like, you've got Hio de LA Park, LA Park. You've got a fan in the comments who loves your beard.
Well, thank you.
You're looking sharp.
I'm trying.
I'll vouch. I'll vouch for that. I'll give the like button to the beard.
But the match was it was solid. That guy, I keep forgetting his name. I don't want to say it bad.
Boku Dao.
Boku Dao. I'm gonna keep that right up here from now on.
Yeah, I couldn't have picked a worse one for you as far as trying to remember difficult names. I'm the jerk on this one. I'll take full credit.
This is just payback for the Impact stream where I put you on the spot. But no, he can go, and he had some really good moves. I actually that crucifix pin move, I thought that was nasty. I was like, This is awesome. And then LA Park was on the knees. because he's short, he's small. They were playing that up. I actually didn't think he was going to win. I thought he got his big win last week, but based on what we saw with De La Renta and the Azteca Underground thing, it made sense for them to lose. So, but again, I thought it was a good match. The finish for me was that move. It didn't look like he hit it all the way, which if he does, it looks like it would be a nasty finisher. But it just looked a little soft. But he still got enough of the 3 to get it done. So I'm all in on this guy. Like, I want to see what Maury can do because like he has some pretty nice moves. I can't name what they are, but they looked really good, and I was invested.
I liked him as well, and same sort of points that you touched on there, John, is that like he didn't get a lot of offense in, but when he did, it looked absolutely great. Literally, same note, like that crucifix bomb looked absolutely fantastic. And that's tough to do against a bigger dude. I'm not a wrestler, so I think it's tough to do against anybody, but especially against a bigger dude like that, right? And, I'm not typically a fan of matches like this, to be honest with you. I like a well-worked wrestling match, as dickish as that sounds. But that's usually my preference. I would love to watch these guys have, the proverbial 15, 20 minutes to go. But what they did in their time was really, really great, like you said, to not only establish Hijo de LA Park as this big menacing dude. Like, not to say he lost on a fluke, because I don't want to discredit Boku Dao, but like he was dominant throughout the entire match, right? Like he's pinning him with one foot. He's flexing on top of him. He was meant to be that big badass dude beating up on the proverbial David for it. And Boku Dao winning, again, I was surprised as well, but I absolutely loved it. I think they've got some big things going forward for him. He's won a lot of matches in a row. He really has. Goose, I'll move on to you. Your thoughts?
I thought it was a pretty exciting match. Like you say, they got right into the heat there. LA Park just jumped him right off the bat. I thought that was pretty cool. To your point about the crucifix being difficult to do on like a larger guy, it's probably actually easier to do on a larger guy just because they can base better for you. You don't have to worry about them like crumpling under your weight or whatever.
I'm learning new things tonight.
But I thought, just like watching it with a critical like eye, the only thing I didn't think was like super hot again was like the finish, the jumping flatliner with the spin thing. I was like, it kind of looks like he's jumping and taking a black hole slam. So it's like, but they put it over well enough that you understand that who is doing the offense or whatever. But if like I had to make a critique of it, that would be my one little thing. I also did notice that at one point LA Park took off his belt and started whipping Boku Dao. And I was like, is that legal? Like, is he allowed to like whip him?
I would have to assume no. I would have to assume that was an oversight of some sort, because I had the same comment. But
Cody, especially like later on in the main event, there was another foreign object, and the announcer like freaked out. And I was like,
see, but I thought that was
did seem to be an issue when Homeboy was whipping the other guy with his belt earlier in 2 matches.
Well, and I also loved, and again, to go back to my point earlier on Saint Laurent, like I loved the fact that he even tried to cover for the wrench. Team Filthy would never bring the wrench to the ring. Why would they do that? If they ever did have a wrench in the ring, they must have found it there, so it's not a foreign object. Like that for me. I think it's no worries. I think it's fantastic because there were a lot of really great ones. Don't get me wrong, but like there are a lot of really overly heavy-handed heel announcers, and he's just not.
Yeah, no, I thought he's fantastic. Saint Laurent was really good. The other guy, Ray, I can't remember what his last was. I wasn't as high on. I thought he was doing some pretty like cheesy calls at times.
I like him a lot.
It's wrestling, so like I say, like he really freaked out when that wrench came into play, and I understand, but I was like, I don't know. It just I thought
the consistency of it sometimes,
didn't seem as natural as like Saint Laurent. Everything he said sounded natural, and the other guy sounded like it was a little bit more like, oh. da 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 da, you know, like.
But, and that might just be the dynamic they're going for, right?
So, like,
well, yeah,
I'm sure that people could lobby like harsher criticisms on me for sure. So
trust me, I'm in the same boat. That's why I even just say I like or dislike something. I can't tell you why. I ain't ever wrestled. I can tell you that I didn't like something. Mighty Joe, good to see you, friend. Been a couple of months since I've watched some MLW. Sounds like I need to check them out. Yeah, again, like we've stressed a lot of the same points as far as why at least I believe that they're pretty must watch right now. But absolutely fantastic again as far as it goes tonight. A fairly promo heavy show in a very positive way. To go back to the Von Erich storyline, it took up, I think, 5 or 6 segments tonight. Again, in a very positive sense, building towards your main event and having a feud that's got multiple moving parts to it. You need to have that many. You need to have that storytelling throughout a match. I even liked the sort of kooky stuff, I suppose, where like Tom Lawler's forcing him to get a drug test, or forcing Marshall to get a drug test so that because this is a legitimate sporting competition and everybody in sporting competitions is doing this right now. What, Alicia, haven't you seen a legitimate sporting competition? I loved all of that sort of stuff because, again, Tom Lawler, it's not the perfect comparison because they're two very
results back in like 15 minutes.
Well, yeah, and like even trying to bribe the ref, like it's not the perfect comparison because obviously they're two wildly different professional wrestlers in ring. But to just use like a comparable as far as the WWE goes, like I like to use a guy like Omos right now because he's a guy that I think has absolutely nailed, and it's a short sort of sample size, but like he can be goofy and funny, but also still maintain that very just serious tone and be taken very seriously. And if you think that applies to Omos just because of his size, Filthy Tom Lawler is a submission magician, man. Like that guy is an absolute stud. He's obviously doing great in MLW. Got to give a quick shout out as well. He's the New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Openweight Champion as of, I think, a week ago, maybe a couple weeks. Lots of wrestling. Good problem to have. But again, like just a guy who can do those sort of goofy things in the backstage segments and then come out and wrestle the main event against Marshall Von Erich like that. Indeed. I loved that match. I absolutely loved that match. John, your thoughts. I've rambled.
No, you're good. One point I did want to make was that if you don't watch MLW weekly like you do, Spencer, they make it really simple to catch up. Like this episode could stand alone and you know exactly what's going on into this main event. And they didn't take up much time to tell the story, which I absolutely loved. And I mean, you said a lot of great things about Tom Lawler, but man, them shorts, dude, I was like, how's he wrestling in them Daisy Dukes? Just as much as Dominic Garrini at the first match was wrestling in these shorts that I sure was going to fall off. I was like, he's got
great hair Dominic Garrini has. Yeah. However, before we move on,
is that the Kenny Powers guy?
Yeah.
Oh, what a description.
He's a badass in the ring, but them shorts, and then like Tom Lawler's out there killing it in the main event and super tight Daisy Dukes. And I was like, Team Filthy is on both ends of the spectrum in the gear game.
Fair point. Before I move on, I've got to give some love to Josh Robinson, not only because you're a great individual, but gifting a tier 1 sub. Thank you, friends. And if you guys are watching on Twitch, feel free to show some support, throw us a follow, throw us a subscription. We were affiliated. I feel like I can stop bringing up the timeline at this point as it's been 2 weeks. But we were affiliated 2 weeks ago. This will be the last reference of the timeline as far as it goes. But if you guys are watching on Twitch, the support is appreciated there. But if you guys are watching on YouTube or Facebook, it is appreciated there as well. Thank you guys for taking the time to tune in on Love Wrestling. We're chatting MLW for about the next 15, 20 minutes. Ryan Culp hopping in. Bauer is the best. I 100% agree. Like the stuff that he has done business-wise, like the addition, I suppose, of Vice to their repertoire is huge. I even think stuff like streaming their show on YouTube is massive, really massive. Am I going to take a Bauer because you're wearing a Bauer piece of equipment?
I think.
Or what do you?
I think Ryan was talking about me. That's my last name.
I didn't know that. I learned something new.
But
hey,
no,
all right.
Court Bauer is
I'm just going to leave for a sec.
I was like, wow, Spencer, I really appreciate that. I was trying to figure out what business moves I have made for Love Wrestling.
John's fine.
No, but yeah, Court Bauer is great. I don't know.
Don't try and recover for me, John. Don't try and recover for me. Let me soak in this. I deserve all the shame, all the...
Hi, Ryan.
All of the wrongness that I have had to, by my own token, endure right now. That is my fault.
I was sitting there going,
Shaw, you're hosting the show now. You've got the top left corner.
I was like, he's saying Bauer is the best. And I was like, wow, thanks, Spencer. Like, in front of Goose like that? Like, dude. and then you said Court. I was like, he has no idea what my name is.
No, you don't have John Bauer at Wrestling Plug Inc. You got John.
I don't. I should. Now I need to. No, Court Bauer, no relation to me. Just doing a good...
Well, that was my next question. So I'm glad you cleared that up.
No
Thanks for jumping on it.
No relation.
Yeah, get me booked, bro.
Hey, Court, it's cousin John.
Yeah. Courttholomew, I think is his full name.
He doesn't want me to tell you that that's what Aunt, Edna named him. Anyway, but the move.
I'm embarrassed.
It's a great move. I'm starting to get it back on the track. The move device is a good move. I was interested to see what time slot they got. Noon is interesting.
I don't hate it. I really don't hate it.
Yeah, I mean, noon on a Saturday, they're definitely not going to compete with anybody, but that just means more wrestling every single day. Sorry, honey, I'm going to be a busy guy hanging out with my Uncle Court.
I thought it was your cousin.
I actually do have an Uncle Court.
Cousin, uncle, whatever gets me booked, bro.
I'm just frustrated with myself. We're going to move on. We're going to try and move on. I'm going to scroll through my notes and try and find something we haven't talked about, which is frustrating because we've talked about, pardon me?
The opener.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I was at the bottom in the main event section, so I've just gotten to the notes for the opener. Like you said, Dominic, Kenny Powers, Guarini versus Ross Vaughn, Eric Shaw. I'll let you kick off your thoughts on this because I thought that was hilarious. I will also say Dominic Guarini, like you mentioned though, John, like make the joke because he's got a glorious mullet right now. That guy's badass. That guy is a real badass. Black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and like you said, an absolute killer in the ring. But I laughed at your comments, so we're going to let you get in there first, Goose.
Yeah, no, and I far be it for me to point out anyone else's physical unappealingness or whatever.
Goose, I am the least attractive person doing this. Don't you worry.
Yeah, no, there's a reason why I wear a singlet or a t-shirt in the ring all the time, for sure. I didn't super get into this match. I thought it seemed like a lot of phony MMA holds and stuff. It wasn't really my cup of tea, to be honest with you. These two guys didn't get me the matches further on into the show. But I did enjoy the fact that they were telling a story and setting up the fact that these guys are boys with the dudes that are in the main event, right? So
yep.
I mean,
and that's
exactly it was all furthered that way, but it didn't seem like the typical, definitely wasn't a typical storytelling of a match type thing. It was a lot of weird holds, then a lot of strikes, and then back to MMA holds and stuff. And then just at the end, homeboy just busted out a Falcon Arrow and pinned him. And I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. For me, I think it did serve more of,
and I'm not trying to shit on it either.
Have an opinion on professional wrestling. God forbid. You know what I mean? Curse you, Kyle Shaw, for having an opinion on a professional wrestling match and then not being rude about your opinion when you explained it. How dare you? I don't disagree. I think that there were, for me, the way I wrote it or described it, I suppose, is it more was about the story surrounding the match, not the story in the match. Even when they were on commentary, they were talking more about the history of the Von Erichs and Tom Lawler and Team Filthy and Violence is Forever. So I do agree with you on that. I thought it was a well-wrestled match. I do, but like, to be honest, Shaw, you as a wrestler, you just know more on like a structuring of a match than I do, right? So I enjoyed it. I don't hate that inverted sort of kneeling Falcon Arrow, I think he described it as the finisher. Sure. I didn't hate that. And I don't hate the fact, like most professional wrestling promotions, not just, this isn't a WWE thing. I think I've become conditioned to like, oh, when there's that slight little bit of tension at the end of the match, it develops into a full-on brawl. And I liked the fact that it was like just the two teams sort of, I almost call it like a hockey scrum, where like you're in front of the net, you're sort of pushing and shoving, but nothing really comes from it because there's bigger things down the line. I think stuff like that really serves not only the main event, but the story of it as it keeps going on. It's, we talked about, I don't think that this feud's done. Tom Lawler winning is a great moment. I'm obviously going to be a huge fan because I'm a big Tom Lawler guy. Best music in the business, him and Hammerstone. I had this debate with Alicia too.
They must be paying some royalties to get, the Ted Nugent on there.
You know what? I can't even begin to imagine. Ha! Vindication! I've been vindicated! Leaving that there for a little bit. I think it really did serve the main event well. As far as the music goes, though, the point we were touching on there, I think that I can't even begin to fathom what the cost of licensing music is, to be honest with you. If it's millions, okay, I understand not paying it. But like, for me, pro wrestling and music are so intertwined, and like Stone Cold Steve Austin's theme hits and you know what's up. Like, there's no other way to put it. You just know what's up. R-Truth, you quite literally know what's up, right? So I think that doing stuff like that, like Hammerstone, I know we didn't get to see an actual entrance tonight, but like, he's got Queens of the Stone Age as his music. And again, I can't imagine that it's a cheap thing to do, but I also think that if you've got the finances to, put the emphasis on the wrong syllable, if you got the finances to do it, there's not many more valuable investments in my mind. Like the Von Erich family, not just Ross and Marshall, but the Von Erich family has such an association with Stranglehold that it would almost seem asinine to have them come out to, some sort of facsimile of it or something entirely different altogether that's a different vibe. Like, that's ingrained in a lot of people, whether it's fans our age or whether it's fans of the original run of the Von Erichs, right? I think it's valuable. You even see what it's done for people like Orange Cassidy and All Elite, right? So associated with people. Putting the money behind that sort of stuff is great. And like you said, Shaw, like even the fact you're pointing out on the first time how cool it is that they've got great music.
Yeah.
That hits the nail on the head, right? I do have a John Bauer fan in the comments, Mighty Joe backing up his fellow Jay.
I'm over here crying. I'm happy. I'm sad.
There's been a lot of
which Bauer do you prefer?
There's been a lot of different emotions on this inaugural MLW post stream. There's been embarrassment. I was embarrassed. There's long-term storytelling. I was embarrassed earlier and then vindicated near the end of this stream. It's been we've had a lot of laughs, but mostly we've met a lot of friends along the way. I think there are only really a couple of littler notes to touch on as we get closer to finishing off the stream. So I'll open the floor. Does anybody have anything in particular they want to touch on before I just rip through, I suppose, the rest of the show card?
Hold on. Let me wipe some tears off real quick. Alicia Atout, your girl, man. I think that she's $1 million interview. Like, she does it so well, and her follow-ups hit, and it makes it so much better, man. Like, I'm surprised it's taken you this long to not mention her.
Yeah, I hope she didn't get any piss on her.
Oh, that.
Josh, I know you're in the comments. Please clip that for me. Josh, or somebody who knows how to clip things live, please clip that for me. That was a very funny thing. I do have that in the notes. That was quite literally my note. And another shout, if we want to continue along these Mind Behind references, quick shout to Gary Cassidy, because my other note here was, this was way better than the Jeff Hardy Sheamus P angle.
That was my first thought when I saw the throw the piss. I was like, wait a minute, haven't I seen this here before? And didn't everybody rip it to shreds?
What's your favorite wrestling golden showers angle?
Shot. Still PG. It's still a PG stream.
I got
brutal.
Mentioned.
Yeah.
I got kids. I need this job.
Yeah. Hashtag don't get fired.
But oh man, yeah, let's recover on that one. No, dude, that was hilarious. It was funny though, and I don't have another way to put it. Again, it just plays into that goofiness, and even Tom Lawler's reaction to it, just like he's very good at those over-exaggerated, overcompensating, I suppose, reactions that you just need in pro wrestling. The best sort of selling is overselling, right? I still laugh at Shawn Michaels versus Hulk Hogan. Still one of my favorite matches out there for all the wrong reasons, but for all the right reasons.
I still laugh at
everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Beer. Swimming in the beer, McMahon. I still
right.
But when William Regal drank the tea that Jericho peed.
Right, like it's very sophomoric. I won't deny it's not. And frankly, there's not a lot of times I enjoy any bodily function related humor. But like when it's not the entire angle, like it was with Hardy and Sheamus, when it's a little throwaway, like it was quite literally a little throwaway, like it was tonight. I've got time for dumb humor too, right? Like I watch Austin Powers at least once every couple of months because, again, there's a lot of time for sophomoric humor. But you're bang on, man. Like I've said for years, and that's maybe why it's taken me a little long. Like Alicia Atout is one of the best interviewers, whether off screen or off stage, I suppose, or on stage. And I think MLW has been a huge piece of evidence towards that, right?
I just really dug her follow-ups. Like it wasn't like she asked the question, let him talk, and then we see that with a bunch of backstage interviewers where they ask the initial question, let the wrestler talk, and then they don't ever go, wait, what? You just said what? She's like, no. Please elaborate on that. And half the time,
it's like you completely gloss over the point, right?
Yeah. Like she's like, no, let's drive that home, which I thought was really well done.
Yeah, I think you need to make it an interview, not a Q&A. And I think she does a great job. There are a lot of people, too. Like, you talk about her, like a Kathy Kelly. She's always the first person. Renee Young, I think, she's so good at everything. There's no other way to put it as far as it goes in any sort of interview role as well, right? Like, they're all very good, and Alicia is as well, at just making it conversational, not making it a Q&A, right?
I think that... like you could kind of like, at least from the way I was watching it, I suspect that there's not a whole lot of actual, like nobody is writing your cousin Court isn't writing out a script and being like, here, say this, they're just being like, okay, well, this is kind of the gist we're looking for. And then you come in and throw the piss on them and we'll move on. Right. Like,
I almost hope that was improvised, to be honest with you. But you're right, and at least from anybody I've spoken to with MLW before, they've all supernatural. Yeah, and they've all talked about that. It's let's go in with this idea, not with this script, and I think that's a huge benefit for anywhere in professional wrestling, not just Major League Wrestling, right? Anything else on that end? The one note I wanted to touch on that's Alicia specific as well: a new championship committee has been formed featuring executives from Rev Pro, Dragon Gate, and more. They've got a major meeting coming up. Again, no other stuff to talk about other than the facts I just gave, but it's another great piece for me as far as, again, that long-term storytelling, that teasing upcoming things, however you choose to phrase it in pro wrestling. You need that. You need consistent stuff like that, the little teasers for your fans. Coming up soon. Stay tuned. Pay attention. Again, whatever it might be.
I dig it.
Well, I'm excited to see what happens, especially given, again, Shaw, we bring up earlier, like Samael's promo where he says he's the gatekeeper for Fatu's contract. Like, maybe this championship committee can override that, and that's how we get there. Or maybe they have to go work. I don't know. Again, it's spitballing, but the ability to spitball just shows the opportunities that are there with it. And sorry, John, your floor. I cut you off a couple times.
We've gotten so off the rails that I forgot all about this part of it. I think the championship committee, the Power Top 10, I think that stuff brings such a layer to wrestling that isn't being utilized. I know AEW tries it with the power rankings, but it writes itself. You slap a, number 1 versus number 3, you're going to want to watch that more than just, 2 regular Joes going at it. And I think having a championship committee, is there a dirty player on that? I mean, we saw Lawler try to pay off Pat Donahue, the old crooked NBA guy. But I think
that was
Tim Donahue, the former NBA referee. Yeah, I think they were paying him off, and he said his stats a little light. So now you've got Samael, who could maybe, corrupt a few committee members. It's kind of like that BCS college football vibe, right? Like, how am I going to get my guy into the, better matchups, the championship spots? Because, I mean, Contra was a unit. I haven't been paying too close attention, but there's a few other members, right? And there's a couple other titles out there. I don't know if they're still members or not. You'll have to give me up to speed. But overall, I think it's a great wrinkle in addition to a wrestling promotion to have rankings, stats, make it feel like it's not just piss in the face. Sorry, I couldn't.
I'm never not gonna laugh at it. It's always shocking is not the word for it.
Comes together.
It's almost like that handshake meme. Hopping in, we've got an argument in the chat. What the hell is wrong with the regular Joe? Says JPJ and Joe Morin. I agree, other Joe. Ownership of the name. Who would know? It's like the ownership of the name Bauer.
By the way,
and here's regular Josh.
If I get invited back to one of these, the little moniker at the bottom right there will just say Court Bauer's cousin.
John, don't call me Court. One more quick shout that I wanted to make, and it is a very quick one, but one that I definitely need to highlight. My God, that Uranagi from Tom Lawler to Marshall Von Erich. It was glorious. I loved it, and that is the only point that I needed to make. To close out the show, Marshall Von Erich passes out in the single leg crab. There's a beatdown from Team Filthy to the Von Erichs, and ACH making the save. He's been with MLW for about the past 6 months. I guess October was the restart, so about 7 months by this point. Getting involved in what can be a main event angle, I suppose, for me is a great, great thing. That guy is a top talent. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I know there was some stuff when he left the WWE that, like, I can't possibly speak to the situation outside of the fact that, like, man, that guy seems to be in the right for a lot of stuff.
Racist T-shirt for or whatever.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I can't speak to any of the stuff he said backstage, but that shirt was
ever since
that's exactly it. And he has been absolutely killing it in MLW, and I'm excited to see him step into this.
And I love the ending to that match. I wasn't expecting the pass out, but when I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, okay, so we're gonna get this again. And I think they've got something coming up outside of the Vice, like a pay-per-view, however they do pay-per-view.
Yeah, I think it's in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
May 12th, I believe, is their next event. And I don't remember the name of it, but they have been doing basically their pay-per-view events. Yeah. Still on the Wednesdays on YouTube. I'm sure that'll continue over the next little bit at the very least. I only saw the comment scroll by in the comment section while I was watching, but they were talking about how phase 2 of this Vice relationship will happen near the end of the summer. So whether that's, and it's only me speculating, by no means do I have any information, but whether that's maybe moving full time to Saturdays because they've got the Vice deal, I have no idea. But over the last little bit, and I would assume in the future, they're going to be running their pay-per-view events as special events on Wednesday night still. So that's in 2 weeks. That's May 12th. Admittedly, I should have written it down, but I don't remember the name of the event. Next week, we've got Myron Reed versus Leo Rush 2 advertised. That's going to burn down the proverbial barn, man. That was a fantastic match the last time they faced off. That was at Kings of Colosseum, if I remember correctly. They were just great. They were just great together. Yeah, so excited, very excited for that one.
Very excited.
But very excited and very excited to hopefully do this again next Wednesday, because I believe that wraps it up for the trio of us here on the stream and all of us here in the comment section. Now, we got a couple of minutes left, and the only stream that I've got on my follow list to raid is Impact Wrestling, and I love Impact Wrestling, but are they in need of Love Wrestling's raid? Probably not. So if you guys are watching on Twitch, probably not. If you guys are in the Twitch chat, let us know a channel to raid. We would appreciate it. We'll be doing so in about 5 minutes time. So maybe we wait for that 7 o'clock changeover. The nice thing is, like the bad electricians we are, we got a lot of cheap plugs. Goose, I am going to let you go second. Haha, see, I got you excited there. John, it's on to you, my friend. Where can people find you online if they would like to do so outside of this here Twitch stream?
You can find me at Wrestling Plug Inc. on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can find me at Court Bauer's Cookout next weekend. Mammy's making she's got some cornbread cooking. We're gonna do some barbecue. It's gonna be fantastic. We're gonna talk about the Vice deal. I'm gonna see if I can get him to come on. But no, you guys,
that'd be nice.
You guys can check me out. Like I said, it'd be appreciated. Follow me on all those platforms. Hopefully after this, like I always say, hopefully they'll invite me back. You guys can see me doing my thing here on Love Wrestling every once in a great while. I mean, I always teeter that line every week. I think Spencer one day is going to realize, oh man, what was I thinking?
The controversial John Bauer, as always.
Not Court Bauer, John Bauer, his cousin.
Goose, as I pull the link up for your shirt, I'm going to let you plug away, friends. Where can people keep track of you, and where can people get your merchandise?
You can enter in that link at the bottom there, or just go to Pro Wrestling Tees and do a search for the Canadian Goose. I have 2 t-shirt designs up. I got one designed by a professional comic book artist, Rad Pencils, and I also have one that I'm wearing right now that I purchased with my Quizplex money.
It's nice.
Yes. You can also find me on Twitter at Canadian Goose KS, Instagram at the.canadian.goose, or Facebook at Kyle Shaw. And then stay tuned. This Saturday, RCW is going to be releasing their first episode of RCW Uprising on YouTube, and I wrestled on that show, so.
Nice.
It's going to be airing on Saturday. Looking forward to it.
Check out some Canadian Goose in RCW. I know it is well worth it, whether it's online, whether it is in person, hopefully sooner rather than later here in Alberta. Friends, thank you for taking the time to tune in. There's lots of wrestling programming out there. I know that. We all know that. Hell, right now, All Elite Wrestling presents Dynamite, so you guys took the opportunity to tune in to our recap of MLW Fusion, and seriously, that doesn't go unnoticed. We appreciate it, and we appreciate you folks for tuning in. Thank you very, very much for doing so. Joe, honk, honk, honk to you as well, and all of the other Canadian Goose fans in the comment section. We've got a couple of specific goals that we are looking to hit. One of them we actually hit earlier today, but we're going to continue to push. We want to continue to grow the Twitch following here. So if you are watching on Twitch and you're not following, it would be appreciated if you did so. Of course, the choice is always yours. But if you want to show some support and want to continue to be updated when we go live, which is pretty well every day at this point, twitch.tv/Love Wrestling CA is the place to be. You'll get notifications when we go live, and you can come hang out with great people like Goose, like John, and myself. I'm not going to put myself over like that. Great people like Goose and John. If you guys want to help us continue to climb up the podcast charts, our goal is to become the #1 Canadian wrestling podcast. If it's even for a day, everybody remembers a one-day championship run. If we can get that, we're happy to have it. So head to ratethispodcast.com/Love Wrestling CA. Leave us a review if you do on Podchaser. Not only will you be supporting us, but you'll be helping to support Meals on Wheels. Every donation, or every review, left on Podchaser this month will lead to a 25-cent donation. That's where the word came from, towards Meals on Wheels in their respective communities. It would help us out a ton here. And please, please, if you want to support us, this is the month to do so. You've got 2 more days to do so. That is the place to do it. And See these mugs? All of us have them. We've been showcasing them so ever often throughout this show. Give us some love. Show your love of Sunday brunch and your love of wrestling with a Love Wrestling mug. You can find that at lovewrestling.ca/shop. And you can not only find those, but you can find our brand new collaboration t-shirts with Sea of Dead, our masks, our stickers, and a whole lot more here in the near future. And, of course, we've got to give a big shout-out. Of course, I feel like people saying last but not least is a very cliche thing. I might have used
my mug a little too much. I have to go take a Marshall Von Erich.
Well, Goose, we will continue to plug off of that excellent exit. Wow. I feel like saying last but not least is pretty cliche by this point. I feel like because people have always said last but not least, they always save the best for last. Again, another cliche, but truly, friends, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the great folks at RK Athletics. You can see their logo in the bottom there. If you want to show them some support, head to RK Athletics 1 on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, your preferred social media platform of choice, because not only will you get access to great personal one-on-one training if you're in the Edmonton area, but if you're following them online, you've got access to great stuff online, whether it's social media suggestions or some access to some personal one-on-one online training. I know even for me, I've tried to play things even more cautiously than a lot of the restrictions that have been in place for a lot of the time. So it's been really, really great for me to be able to connect one-on-one and still keep that social distance, that social responsibility, all of those phrases you guys have heard over the last year and a bit. I know they're cliche at this point, but one thing that's not cliche is taking care of yourself, and RK Athletics can help you do that. Show them some love as you have done for us tonight. Thank you, friends, for taking the time to tune into the latest edition of MLW Recaps, the first edition of MLW Recaps for the Canadian Goose, who's just sitting back down, and for John, don't call me Court Bauer. I have been Spencer Love. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you guys tomorrow night for the championship edition of Quizplex.